Hey gang, good to see you. Welcome to the 40 Days Experience. You know, one thing I wanted to talk about today is that 40 days are actually a threat in some strange way. They cause us to really have faith for something that maybe we've kept ourselves a little more distance from, a little more guarded from. And so while people generally love the 40 days, many people in our experience are kind of scared of them because things haven't worked out for them. They've believed God for something, it hasn't come to pass. So one particularly common thing that people ask for in our church, we have a lot of young people in our church, and they not uncommonly ask for a spouse. And we've had some great stories. One reason they do it is because they hear stories about how people have gotten spouses out of the 40 days, and they think, why not me? What's wrong with it? What's wrong with me? So while a lot of people have had that prayer answered, a lot of people haven't, and that's a particularly disappointing lack of answer to prayer for so many people. It's just too much. It hurts too much when you ask something like that again. I can relate to that. Some of the biggest 40 days prayers I've had have not been answered. Some of you know that I've had sort of throughout my life, for whatever reason, dreams of being a best-selling novelist. I'd love to have a stake in kind of the fiction conversation in our country. And so I prayed for that. Unless I'm missing it, you might know something I don't know. Maybe you've seen one of my books at Barnes & Noble, and I am a best-selling novelist secretly, but I'm not aware of that having happened for me. That said, I've had some surprising little blips on the screen. So after 140 days, I'd written a novel based on the encouragement of one fairly prominent agent. And then by the time I finished the novel, the agent was gone. And so suddenly their agency didn't want to talk to me anymore. And so I prayed that God would get me an agent. And I did. I got an agent not long thereafter, one whose agency at least had a #1 bestseller recently that's been made into a movie, actually just very recently that came out. It was a big hit movie. This agent was super into my book, talked to me about foreign rights, talked to me about the movie rights and all that sort of stuff. And then the book didn't sell. So I kind of came close. I got little hints, but not the thing itself. How should we deal with that? How should we think about that? One way is to ask the question that Dan proposed in the first faith tip in these 40 days, which is asking the question not just what do you want Jesus to do for you, but the question what do you really want Jesus to do for you? What's underneath that? So in my dream of being a best-selling novelist, I said, well, hypothetically, let's say God doesn't give me that. Why do I want to be a best-selling novelist? Maybe God could just give me the very reason that I want it without giving me that thing. Maybe there's another way to get there. And so I found myself thinking, well, I don't know, I suppose I like doing it. It's fun, I suppose. But secondly, I kind of want to feel like I'm part of the larger cultural conversation in our country. I don't know why. It sounds like that'd be fun. It makes me feel like I'm not so hemmed in by my job on just all the terms of my job or my life. Maybe I can think bigger and have a bigger splash or be a part of a bigger conversation. That sounds fun. So I started praying for that. And suddenly I'm actually doing a lot of that. I'm having all sorts of opportunities to be a part of the bigger conversation. So, hey, maybe God could circumvent that specific prayer in some way. So I've actually talked to people whose prayer is for a spouse, for instance, and I said, hypothetically, God forbid that God does not give you a spouse. What do you really want God to do for you? Is there something specific that having a spouse would mean for you that maybe could be addressed even if, God forbid, you don't actually get a spouse? People usually say, yes, here's what I want. What I really want God to do for me, I want God to give me a spouse. I want to go back to question 1. I said, yes, I understand. God forbid he doesn't, what's underneath that? What would having a spouse mean for you? And they think, okay, fine, I'll play along. It would mean I don't feel so lonely. I often feel very lonely. It would mean I have someone to do things with on Saturday night. It would mean that I feel like in my larger life mission, I have someone walking right along with me. It would mean I feel that someone loves me, sees me, knows me at an intimate level. All those things, it would mean romance. All those things would be true. So I said, great, why don't you pray for that? Pray for those things and pray for the spouse, but pray for those things too, that God would actually address loneliness, that God would address a need for romance, that God would address companionship, that God would address having a long-term partner in your life mission. And people said, okay, fine, and have had some really encouraging results. So I would encourage you, go for the biggest dream you have, pray for that, but then ask that second question, what do I really want God to do for me? And make sure not to neglect that. Ask that too. Because what if you got that? What if you got the thing that your first prayer was meant to address? So faith tip for the day, there you have it.